Breaking news on Martyn Lucas Investor. My name is Sensei, and I'm going to be telling you about the ISO update going live now. We've got our very own newsletter covering all the news for this ISO upgrade and how it impacts XRP alongside some of the ISO compliant tokens and systems. You can see today, again on Sunday, at the time of filming this, HBAR is up 24%. I mean, remember when we were doing a video on this at about 12 cents a couple weeks ago? Now at 24 cents, already doubled from those points. So congratulations to those who are invested in HBAR today. Algorand up 17% today. Why is that up 17%? Why is XLM up another 16%? Why is IOTA up 15%? Why is XRP coming up to $3 again? And why is Bitcoin breaking out but nowhere near as high as gains as the rest? Well, in my opinion, it's all to do with ISO. Before I get any further into the show, and please or video, please do make sure you don't take this as financial advice. This is my thoughts and opinions only. Please do not buy or sell based on anything I say. This is for entertainment purposes only. So, ISO is happening. Are you ready? 7 days, $10. Is it possible? Well, I'll tell you all of that coming up in this video. But remember, you need to know the real news before you start making predictions. And I'm going to give you the real news. The real news is always a bit more boring than what you see on X or what other people might be saying. But you need to know what the real news is, so you don't look like an idiot when you talk to your friends about XRP. So you know exactly what you're investing in, and so that you know what the real news is, and you don't get it muddled up with the fake news that's out there. So you might find this a bit boring, but we'll get into the charts, we'll get into my predictions, but this is the real news of today's edition of the Sensei's Insights. Remember, Sensei's Insights is a newsletter that goes out every trading day. Plus, we had one yesterday on a Saturday go out about EVTOLs, and today you got a special edition. So basically every day. On the trading days, it's before the opening bell, 5 main stories, the deep dives, the charts of the day, everything you need to know if you're an investor. Remember, if you're an investor, you always need the real news, and you might as well get it from the newsletter here because it is better. And it's all in one place, and it's exactly tailored for the Ripple XRP investors, for the crypto investors, for the stock market investors, not just some random audience. Let me tell you what ISO is. First of all, ISO 20022 is a global messaging standard for financial communications created to replace the patchwork of legacy formats used by banks and payment systems. It provides a common data-rich language using XML/JSON that enables seamless exchange of payment information across institutions and borders. It's revolutionizing the payment system, the communication system for banks and payment systems, and it's going live at the time of watching, potentially today. It's a Sunday now, so it'll be tomorrow. The next day that the banks and Fed is trading, it will be live and will be on ISO. So this is a modernization. This modernization promotes major improvements, richer data and payment messages, fewer errors, improved compliance, and end-to-end interoperability between formerly siloed networks. In short, ISO 20022 is a language, a universal language for money transfers, allowing banks worldwide to finally speak the same language. The shift to ISO 20022 is a big deal globally. Over 70 countries already use ISO 20022 for their domestic payment systems, and the new standard is expected to support 80% of high-value transactions by 2025. You know where we're going with this. The Society for World Interbank Financial Telecommunication, SWIFT, which underpins international bank transfers, introduced ISO 20022 for cross-border payments in March of 2023 and set a transition period until November of 2025. After that, all banks on SWIFT must use ISO 20022 exclusively. It's coming everywhere. This is going to be the global language, and it gives you a little bit of an insight why HBAR is up 24%, why Algorand's up 17%, why XLM is up 16%, why IOTA is up 15%. Well, I'll tell you exactly why. So this means that the clock is ticking for any stragglers, and virtually every major bank is now upgrading. The payments dive industry news puts it plainly. The US Federal Reserve adoption of ISO 20022 will reverberate around the world as trillions in daily payments migrate to the new standard. The reason is that the US dollar rivals, Fedwire, chips, etc., are finally joining the modern language already used by many counterparts abroad. So that gives you an idea of what ISO actually is. It's not something related purely to XRP. It's not something that says XRP is the only payment system. That is what it is. It is a communication language that is updating the whole banking payment system, and that's going to be rolled out across the world. And Swift is going to be a part of it. But what we've got going on is it's starting tomorrow with the Fed systems. Why the ISO 20022 upgrade matters now. After years of planning and delays, a major milestone is happening tomorrow at the time of recording this video, which is Monday. The US Federal Reserve's Fedwire Fund Service is officially switching its high-value payment system to ISO 20022 on July the 14th. This, and they call it this, Big Bang conversion by Fed, originally scheduled for March the 10th, 2025, but rescheduled to July the 14th, mandates that all Fed wire transfers use the ISO 20022 format going forward. Fedwire processes approximately 4.5 trillion in payments, not per year, not per month, not per week, per day, largely USD settling internationally, and so it goes live. It's a significant inflection point. Remember that number: 4.5 trillion per day, international payments, 4.5 trillion, Fedwire. That's important. Importantly, the Fed's move comes as Swift Network's 2025 deadline looms. We've got a whole another amount of money coming on, way bigger than this, in 2025 when Swift comes over to the system as well. Later in November. We are now in the final stretch of ISO 20022 migration. The coexistence period ends on November 22nd, 2025. The urgency is why now is such focus. Banks haven't even transitioned and rushing to do so, and technology providers have been working overtime to ensure readiness. In practical terms, the July 14th go live is not expected to cause big disruptions because they've been testing it for years, but it opens a new chapter. From Monday onwards, US wires will carry richer structure data, and banks will benefit from faster straight-through processing and better fraud security screening. If you are still with me, that means you do really want the real information. You haven't clicked off, you haven't thought this is boring, you haven't heard me say XRP is going to $10, $100, $1,000, you haven't heard me saying all the money's going on to XRP, and you're still here. That means you want the real information, and I really do appreciate that, and that means you definitely should be hitting the like button. You definitely should be subscribing, because we're going to get on to more of that content in a few minutes time. I have noticed that about 90% of you guys watching the videos, not our live viewers, everyone watching live is normally a member and a subscriber, but most people watching the videos are not members or subscribers. It takes a second to press the subscribe button. We are currently on 90% of you guys watching on videos are not subscribed. Which I think is pretty ridiculous, considering it's something that you can do for free. We are trying to get to 100,000 subscribers, well, I say by the end of the year. We are on the final stretch to 90,000. It will be great to get to 90,000 subscribers. Why? Because that's the countdown to 100,000 subscribers. So please do consider subscribing. And if you hit the like button and share this video out, we are more likely to hit the target. So let me get back to our newsletter. Remember, this is the newsletter we create ourselves. The link is the first in description. So cryptocurrencies aligned with ISO 20022. Who is benefiting from this? A few suggestions here. Several crypto projects have been positioning themselves as ISO 20022 compliant or compatible, meaning their protocols. Remember this is important. Their protocols or organizations can integrate with the new banking standard for messaging. According to industry analyst 8 Cryptocurrencies are commonly cited as aligning with ISO 20022 messaging standards. Number one, no surprise, XRP. Number two, XLM, XDC, Algorand, HBAR, Quant, IOTA, Cardano, ADA. Many of these projects focus on interoperability and efficient payments, making them natural fits for a standardized financial messaging, and that's why you're seeing something like IOTA up 15%, XLM up 16% today. I mean, XLM in the last week is basically up doubled. You doubled your money on XLM. Congratulations. Remember, we do cover all the price action every single day. We do cover the charts, and we were looking at this, and I was buying this live at 23 cents a couple weeks ago, live on the show. So that's another reason to subscribe, because you see all of my trades live as we do them. But that's not me giving you financial advice. That's just me being open and transparent and sharing my journey with you. HBAR, we said the breakout. Remember, 12 cents is when we were looking at this at support. 2 opportunities. Now it's at 24. Another double. Algorand, we haven't been looking. I'm going to be honest. No need to not be honest. We haven't been looking at this as much because we haven't been requested it, and I don't actually hold it, even though I think it's great. It did have a double bottom. If we did look at it, we would have seen that at 15 cents, but we didn't. And the big boy itself, XRP, well, we've been looking at this since 30 cents. We've been looking at every time we traded this, taking profits at $3.37, not because I wanted to sell my XRP, because I saw a 50% correction coming. I had to give you my real thoughts. I was still bullish. I didn't sell all my tokens. I sold my leverage positions, plus I took some initial profits. And then we got the 50% correction that everyone told me wouldn't happen. It happened. I bought more. We traded every single time $2, and we got a final dip below $2 the other day. And now it's at $2.82. I do see XRP's price going to all-time highs and beyond. I do already have my take profit strategy where I'll be starting to take profits between at $5 all the way until $11 to $33 possibly this cycle. Then I'll be accumulating in the bear market, looking towards $50 to $100 next cycle. So that gives you an idea. Remember, I'm always prepared for all scenarios, whether it pumps, dumps, whether it goes down to 50 cents next week, I'll just buy more. If it goes up to $10, I know what I'm doing. If it goes up to $33, I know what I'm doing. If it goes sideways for 4 years, I know what I'm doing, just to give you an insight into that. So I'm not going to go into each and every one of these, but I'm just going to talk to you about a couple. Some of the top leading networks. So obviously Ripple with XRP, a digital asset and payment protocol aimed at real-time global settlements. RippleNet, this is the part that's basically ISO compliant, not the token itself, it's the network. So RippleNet, the network of financial institutions using Ripple's technology, has been aligned with ISO 2022 from the start. Not unlike other tokens, this is an integral part of Ripple, and you have to wonder why they've been integrated from the start. Well, they obviously know they're going to be a part of this. And Ripple Labs became the first distributed ledger technology company to join the ISO 20022 standards body in May of 2020. That's 5 years ago. They've been preparing for this. XRP serves as a bridge currency to facilitate instant value transfers. You can see XLM there. You can see XDC here. You can read all of this in the newsletter. But specifically about XRP and the ISO 200 ecosystem, remember, we are coming on to the XRP's price, utility, and demand, why ISO 2002 upgrade positions XRP for significant growth later, but we need to go a little bit more into this so you fully understand what is happening tomorrow. So XRP and the XRP ledger hold a unique position in this new ISO 20022 driven financial landscape. Ripple became the first blockchain focused member of the ISO 20022 standard body in May of 2020. You can read into that a little bit. You can understand that it's actually not just something that's a fact. It's something that's important, that there were, and it means something, I think, that it was the first blockchain focused member of the ISO 2022 standards body. It shows that this is what they want. It shows that they're prepared for this. Just like what we saw with what happened in the Senate, what happened where they went. Brad Garlinghouse was there last week, advocating for the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, the Anti-CBDC Act, all those things that are. Maybe the Anti-CBDC Act doesn't benefit them that much, but the other two certainly outweigh the cons of the other act for Ripple themselves. Um, but it shows that they've always been pro-regulation, not regulation by enforcement like what happened to them with the SEC, but actually understanding the rules and the laws. They've always abided by the laws. They've always built everything around the laws. And unlike other cryptocurrencies, once those laws come into place, they are so ready for it that they will thrive, unlike others that will have to start catching up. They will thrive in that industry because they know exactly what their boundaries are, they know exactly what to do, and they've prepared for that. Just like tomorrow when this goes live, and throughout the year when Swift goes onto protocol, they've been preparing for this for 5 years. They were the first group, the first blockchain focused member of the ISO standard body. So you can read into this and say that this is what they've been preparing for. So that means a lot to me. You can draw from that what you will. This gave Ripple a seat at the table alongside central bankers and payment giants, allowing it to contribute expertise onto how to incorporate digital assets into the messaging framework. They were sat next to and they were commenting on this when the massive big bank, I mean, every bank has to be on board with this. So they had a seat at the table next to all global banks. Some deals were happening behind the scenes. They know what to do. They had their part to play. They were very much hands on with this whole upgrade. So in practical terms, RippleNet and on-demand liquidity, Ripple's flagship product for moving money across borders, were built to be ISO 20022 compliant from the ground up. Banks or payment providers using RippleNet can connect via unified API that speaks the ISO language, making integrated into their core systems much easier. This means that as banks upgrade their messaging infrastructure, plugging into Ripple's network, and by extension using XRP for settlement, can be relatively seamless. Let me read that again. This means that as banks upgrade their messaging infrastructure once they go ISO, which they're doing this year, deadlines are coming. We've just seen FedWire do it tomorrow. They can plug into Ripple's network seamlessly. I mean, they're going to be on the same exact system. That makes it very, very easy for them to use XRP as a settlement tool. Very, very easy, much easier than before. They have to be able to use it as a product. I'm just going to remove that, but I'm going to go back to those shortly as well. Let me just turn that off for now. Thank you, Will. I will come on to that. We are in the making of a video at the moment. So, however, this is also crucial to understand because a lot of misconceptions here. It is crucial to understand that XRP itself, the token itself, XRP, is not ISO compliant in the literal sense. The ISO compliance is a data formatted standard. It doesn't natively include or endorse any cryptocurrency or otherwise. Ripple's CTO David Schwartz has clarified this point. XRP has nothing to do with ISO. He said, explaining that ISO is about payments messages, whereas XRP is a digital asset. What matters is Ripple, the company, made XRP compatible with the new standard and positioned it as a tool within the ecosystem. So be clear. Yes, we can go around and say XRP is ISO compliant. That's fine to say, but understand what we actually mean by that. The system behind it is ISO compliant, and XRP is the asset that can be used on that system. The technology behind it, the system behind it, the on-demand liquidity, the RippleNet, and the RippleNet is ISO compliant. The messaging standard is ISO compliant, but XRP as a digital asset itself is just the asset. That's not ISO compliant. Just so you know what we actually mean when we say XRP is ISO compliant. So I'm going to get onto some. I'm going to skip through some of this and go talk a little about Swift, and then also a bit more about XRP. Remember, Martyn is also going to go live and about this as well, so do look out for that. He's going to be talking more about this as well. So Swift migration progress and deadlines. Remember, Swift, the global payments provider, is also going to go in ISO by the end of this year. November is its deadline, I think. In fact, I'm pretty sure of. The global transition to ISO is progressing, but adoption rates remain below expectations. As of February 2025, only 35% of cross-border payments messages were being sent using ISO. By May 2025, this has increased to 41%. Meanwhile, as of December of 2024, only 32% of institutions had adopted ISO 20022. Some of you might say that's a really bad thing. No one's adopting it. I say it's a really good thing. Most of it hasn't even come on board yet. So wait for the big bang, which is tomorrow, which brings a lot more on. And then wait until November when Swift bring it on board as well. Remember, October, November, September coincides with the deadlines for the ETFs as well. So we could have a secondary push up for XRP's price around that time as well. We'll have to see how the price action plays out. So the November 22nd deadline remains firm, when Swift will cease processing MT messages for cross-border payments after the state institutions not ready for ISO 20022 will face negative acknowledgements or additional costs due to contingency processing measures. Swift will offer limited conversation services for critical low-volume MT messages, but these will incur charges and are intended as temporary solutions. So they have to, otherwise they're going to be fine, basically. And remember, it's the same situation. When Swift goes ISO, some people say XRP and Ripple are going to overtake Swift. Well, the other scenario is the transactions start happening using RippleNet and XRP. So when Swift goes compliant with ISO in November, they're going to stick to that deadline, in my opinion. They've made that quite clear. Then again, XRP and the XRP RippleNet and on-demand liquidity will be on the same messaging service, so they can start using XRP for those payments as well. So everything is going to have one system, and that's going to benefit XRP a lot. So looking beyond the hype, what to monitor: institutional adoption, volume growth on-demand liquidity, regulatory clarity, and competing solutions. So let me just get onto this as well. XRP's price, utility, and demand. Why the ISO 20022 upgrade positions XRP for significant growth. The Utility Foundation real world payment volume. So now we're talking specifically about XRP as well. So XRP's investment thesis extends far beyond speculative trading. We are just the little boys trading XRP. This is not what it's intended for. It's not an investment into Ripple. It's not a security. We're not buying a share of anything. We're buying tokens, and that's not what XRP is built for. It's not built for the retail investor to buy. Of course, the retail investor can buy it, which is the beauty of decentralization, but that's not what XRP was built for. XRP is built on measurable growing utility in the global payments ecosystem. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse recently projected that XRP could capture 14% of Swift's cross-border payment volume within 5 years. We saw him say that. I don't know if he wanted to say that. He seemed a little bit drunk when he said that, but he let it out anyway. A few weeks ago, we covered it in the newsletter. We played you the video. He said, in his own words, that if he had to guess, he said that in 5 years, XRP could capture 14% of Swift's cross-border payment volume, which is a heck of a lot, and that would push XRP's price into possibly triple digits. So that is something to always keep in the back of your mind. Given that Swift facilitates messaging for trillions in daily cross-border flows, that represents a potential market share worth hundreds of billions in transaction volume. This number supports the ambitious target. On-demand liquidity volumes have surged 1,700% since 2021, and obviously the price of XRP is lacking that sort of growth since 2021, so it might catch up. So now processing nearly 1 billion annually. This isn't theoretical adoption, it's live transaction volume flowing through XRP powered corridors. In the South Asia alone, Ripple's partnership with companies like Tranglo demonstrate real institutional demand for XRP liquidity bridging capabilities, and there will be a lot more demand, in my opinion, once ISO gets rolled around, because everyone will see XRP as not something and the technology that Ripple provides not as something as on a different messaging service, not something that's hard to integrate, but something that seamlessly can be integrated with their systems and save them lots of money. So it seems like a no-brainer. Technical advantages: creating sustainable demand. So these are obviously why XRP is what my favorite currency. XRP's technical architecture delivers compelling advantages that create organic demand from financial institutions. Settlement speed: XRP's transactions settle in 3 to 5 seconds compared to 1 to 5 days for Swift transfers. I mean, that is a ridiculous comparison, isn't it? I mean, what would you prefer as a bank? What would make your services better, 1 to 5 days or 3 to 5 seconds? Cost efficiency: transaction fees are average 0.0002 per transfer. That's nothing. That's not even pennies. That's You'd have to have 1,000 transactions for it to actually even cost anything. Dramatically lower than traditional correspondent banking costs. The XRP ledger can process 1,500 transactions per second, providing the infrastructure capacity needed for institutional scale adoption. The bridge currency premium as well. XRP's role in a bridge currency creates a structural demand dynamic that differs from other cryptocurrencies. When financial institutions use Ripple's on-demand liquidity service, they must hold XRP to facilitate currency exchanges. This creates what economists call liquidity demand. Institutions need XRP inventory to operate efficiently. That's what creates a major demand for XRP itself. The role as a bridge currency. Let me read that again. XRP's role as a bridge currency creates a structural demand dynamic that differs from other cryptocurrencies. This is the sort of the USP of XRP. So when financial institutions are using Ripple's product, the on-demand liquidity service, these institutions have to hold XRP so that they can facilitate these currency exchanges. And that's what creates, that's the liquidity they need, and that's what is going to, in my opinion, cause that shock in the price shock, because the liquidity is needed. The mechanics are straightforward. A bank sending 1 million from USD to Mexican pesos converts USD to XRP, transfers the XRP across the ledger, then converts it to pesos at the destination. This process requires XRP liquidity pools, creates sustained demand that's tied to transaction volume rather than speculation. Very, very, very simple. You've got your USD, you want your Mexican pesos. Well, you're not going to send USD to USD, convert it. That's all going to be slow and take days or a day. What you're going to do is take your USD, convert it into XRP. 3 to 5 seconds later, you've got XRP being converted into pesos, and that all happens within basically 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So you need that XRP there as liquidity so you can transfer these volumes of money. As more payment corridors adopt on-demand liquidity, the liquidity demand compounds. Japan's banking sector, where SBI Holding reports that all major banks will adopt XRP-based solutions, represents 6.3 trillion market, potentially creating substantial XRP demand. That is just, I mean, there's all this good news in the background. That's just, again, a lot of money going to be running on XRP, or XRP is going to be needed. Institutional adoption moment. Momentum. The institutional adoption narrative is, and if you're still watching the video, I do greatly appreciate that you're sticking with us until the end. So please make sure you do hit the like button. Please do make sure you subscribe. Leave me your thoughts down below. We are trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but more importantly, let's see if we can hit 90,000 subscribers today. Most of you, as I showed you earlier, are not subscribed. About 90% of you that watch the videos aren't subscribed. So just take a second. It's free. You press the subscribe button. If you are enjoying the newsletter, you get news every single day. Mainly it is the 5 main things to know, the charts of the day, all that sort of stuff every single morning, and the link to that is the first link in the description. It's also in the live chat if you're watching us live. Let me put it in there for you now. Please do also follow me on X. I do give a lot of these insights on X as well. I'll give you the link. It will be in the comment section, in the description, and also in the live chat. I will get onto the $10 XRP as well within a week and what I expect for that. So institutional adoption momentum. Whale accumulation. We've got whales buying XRP like never before. We've got corporate treasury adoption. I mean, this is one of the biggest things that everyone is overlooking and something I've been covering. There are companies now on the NASDAQ exchange that are looking and are in the process of building treasuries. So MicroStrategy's strategy of accumulating Bitcoin as a reserve and as a strategic reserve for Bitcoin, well, companies are now doing that for XRP because XRP actually has utility and they are bullish on the price of XRP. So companies like Vivo Power International and Weebus have announced XRP treasury allocations representing 421 million in corporate adoption. So we've already covered that, and you can see it in our past newsletters. But that is becoming a real strategy as well. Companies buying XRP to benefit from the price rises and also to use their technology in payments. So it's a big double whammy. And also ETFs. There's multiple ETFs coming out, more this week. Nothing spot yet in the US. We've seen it in Brazil, we've seen it in Canada, we've seen it around the world. We've seen leverage ETFs in the US, more coming out this week, which is obviously bullish, but the spot ETF could be coming out as early as next week. Which will play into the $10 XRP, but as late as September, October, when the final deadlines come around. So we'll talk about that as well. We don't need to talk about that. The RLUSD multiplier effect. Everyone said RLUSD puts an end to XRP, but they're so wrong. They don't understand it. Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin adds another demand layer for XRP. It adds demand for XRP. RLUSD has surpassed 500 million in market capitalization, ranking among the top 8 stablecoins globally. Since RLUSD operates on the XRP ledger and uses XRP for transaction fees, growing stablecoin adoption directly translates into XRP demand. Remember, they're not replacing RLUSD with XRP. They were minting a lot of USDC. They were using USDC a lot, and they thought, why do we keep minting USD? We're responsible for lots of percent of the USDC in being minted. Why don't we just do this ourselves? And that's what RLUSD is, and it operates on the XRP ledger. We've also recently heard the partnership news of BNY Mellon as RLUSD custodian provides institutional validation and operates infrastructure for enterprise adoption. We've got competitive positioning. XRP's competitive advantages become more pronounced as the ISO 2002 transition progresses. I'm going to leave some of this for Martyn because I know he wants to cover this and I don't want to give you a whole lot of information at once. But my only other thing I'd say is there is targets for $10 to $20. There is targets for $50 to $100. My reasoning of $10 in 7 days, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think that is the most likely scenario. I don't. But if you're not prepared for that scenario, you're not doing well. If you don't know how to access your XRP and sell it, if you do at those levels, then you're not prepared. If you don't think XRP can go to $10 in a week, then you are categorically wrong. We've seen XRP go from prices of 50 cents to $3 in a matter of weeks. We've seen XRP's 2017 explosion where it went up basically 1,400% in a matter of under a month. When XRP moves, it moves fast. And obviously, I'm not stupid. I know that it's going to take a lot more money to move XRP from these levels to $10. But the experience of XRP is when it moves fast. When the FOMO comes in, it comes and goes very fast. If we get an ETF announcement, if we get the end of the SEC case, if we get obviously ISO's happening, if we get the ISO FOMO, if we get Bitcoin go to 150,000, and that's very possible as well. When you look at Bitcoin, when it moves fast. When it breaks through all-time highs, like it previously has, breaking through all-time highs, it goes on a massive run as well. Last time it did about 46% when it broke through all-time highs. This time when it broke through all-time highs, that could push it over 150,000. So if we get that same thing happen with Bitcoin going to 150,000 and plus a few more of those events that I've just mentioned, ETFs, for example, then $10 in 7 days is very possible. So always be prepared for that scenario. It doesn't even need all of those. It can just have massive FOMO events as well. So be prepared for that. I mean, what we've been seeing with XLM, Algo, and XLM Algo H bar IOTA is it's a snippet of what XRP can also do when it gets moving. So I hope you appreciated this video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave there'll be 2 videos up here. Make sure you look at the description because the newsletter, my X, and all those sorts of things will be down below. But until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.